And so that increase in production is creating jobs.
Minister,
yes.
When you say you've increased rice production from 2.5 metric tons to almost 4, there are those who are concerned that, yes, that increase is not reflective in the pricing of rice. That's on one side. Again, back to the companies. If they're getting rebates, and some form of rebate, the federal government is talking about increasing the tax revenue, because that's how they're going to fund the budget. So if the companies or the private sector practitioners or players are not getting enough incentives in terms of tax reduction or tax incentives for them to be able to boost their productivity and then increase, there's still the power issue. So how does all of this tie into boosting the economic sector so that jobs can be created and people can move along? And how is it that the increase in rice production is not even affecting the cost of it?
Okay, there are so many questions there. But let me start with incentives. The NIPC just had an investors forum. They have a publication listing all the various incentives, including pioneer status in certain sectors and so on. So we have a booklet that sets out all the incentives for those who want to go particularly into production. So we do have incentives. With regard to, however, our tax collection is very low. The percentage is about 6% of GDP, whereas most countries is so much higher. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that those who should pay tax, who are actually making money and not paying tax, that they pay tax. But we're not going after those who are not making money because there's no tax to be paid anyway. So basically what we're trying to make sure is that those who pay taxes don't feel cheated, that many people are not paying taxes. So we're trying to make sure that that happens. So, and with regards to rice, because this is another issue that you mentioned, I'll give an example. I normally send rice to people in my village, in my community, at Christmas. All the rice I've been sending in the last 2 years, local, whereas before, the rice was imported. So there is a lot of local rice available. However, it takes time to bring the price down because the farmer has to make money. If the price is too low, the farmer will not be making enough money. There has to be incentive across the board. But we're trying to support with all sort of, as Anchor Borrowers Program, to bring down the cost, their own input cost, so ultimately to bring down the price. But these things take time. The important thing I think that I would like to put across is this. If you look at our plans, they're very good plans. If you look at the results that we're getting, they're very positive. We're moving in the right direction. However, people, you don't expect a miracle. I mean, in the sense that last year we're in a recession. We're just coming out of recession. So it does take time. I would appeal to Nigerians to give us a little time. One, things are moving in the right direction. They can see it.
How much time?
They can feel it. Oh, I mean, at the very least, they were elected for 4 years, at the very least. So I can assure you that by the time we get towards the end of the year, things will get even better.
But if I could,
I know some of the issues that people, of course, is affecting the feeling good factor. Is not actually so much the economy, because the economy is moving in the right direction. It's sometimes you have some security and other issues. But we're tackling those issues as well. Because, you know, when you speak to people, they look at all sorts of things. They also look at security issues. So, but we're also tackling those.
And oftentimes that's the first thing they look at.
Yes, they do. But we are tackling that. I know we've had some issues, you know, in terms of security and all that. But they're being tackled. As we get on top of those, you will find that people will now look at the economy and say, we're not doing badly at all.
Yeah, part of the criticism that came before the ERGP came was that, you know, there was strong criticism about economic direction.
Yes.
People could see that the indices were not looking good, and they were wondering whether the government was being active enough. I don't want to talk about being proactive. You know, they were wondering whether the government had a plan to get us out of that particular
recession. Well, now they know we have a plan.
Sadly, we fell into a recession, and there's hot debate as to whether or not we needed to have gone into that recession in the first instance, because some people say we have not been able to mitigate the impact of going into a recession in the first instance. Thankfully, we're out of it. Gradually, we're making progress. How do you see, the politics? Because we're in a political year, whether or not you like it. And people say that part of the plans or part of the dangers that the ARGP could face is the political year. Political uncertainty could affect the plans that you have made.
Well, I do agree. However, we, in the administration, and we're very clear about it, we're staying focused. We don't see the administration going from election to election. No, we're looking at long term. We stay focused. So every aspect of that ARGP will continue with its implementation. So we're going to stay very, very focused. However, naturally, election rhetoric and all that, but we'll try not to be distracted.
Has it been factored? I mean, I think the other day was the Minister of Power Works and Housing who was talking about how there's sometimes capital flight. Those portfolio investors will first of all take out their monies, and maybe sometimes politicians as well will remove their money from investments that they've had. Have you factored all of that into the ARGP as well? The effect that these kinds of withdrawals could have on the economy, for instance?
Well, basically, what our strategy is to have an economy that is more robust, that is diversified, that is inclusive. The more diversified an economy, the more robust it is. It can take, if you have issues like that. So the way to deal with them is to make sure that you have a very diversified economy. If you have an economy that is reliant, we have a lot of agriculture, we have solid minerals, we have manufacturing and processing, and the small scale, we're putting lots of money into the small scale enterprises. For instance, the Development Bank has given over 5 billion naira worth of loans to small and medium scale enterprises. Those are the areas that keep the economy, whatever happens. If you make sure that you support the small scale, the medium scale, agriculture, solid minerals, whatever happens, it creates a certain robustness in the economy to withstand shocks.
If I could follow up with that, because we just had someone who also said, look, that's part of the key component, the key determining factor. If the SMEs, if you can give them that environment to thrive, that would be a massive changer. But access to credit, cost of funds, because I know that your colleague in the Agri Ministry is still trying to get it down to single digits. He's not succeeded yet. So it's still at double digits. So what is being done in that particular area?
I think the problem is that we haven't gotten inflation down to single digit yet. It has been going down, but we've been working hard at getting inflation down, because that also affects interest rates. We got inflation down consistently. The last 15 months has been going down every single month, from about 18.7% in January 2017 to about between 12 and 13% now, 12.4% now. Our target is single digit, below, to get it up to 9% or even less than that. When we can bring in inflation down, it's easier now to bring interest rates down, because you can't expect people to lend at rates that their returns are completely eaten up by inflation. So those are the things that we're trying to do. So the monetary authorities, central bank, working with us, the fiscal, to try and address that. But in the meantime, while we're trying to bring down inflation, we have special intervention funds, for instance, in agriculture, and other, which are single digit. And we're trying to do the same in small scale, in manufacturing, some intervention fund. But ultimately, you're right, that we should bring down interest rates across the board. We're working on it. It's taking some time.